Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel where today we are going to be going over my week 7 NFL power rankings. 6 weeks are behind us. Teams are really starting to settle into who they are. And we get a bit of a clearer picture of who exactly is the top dogs in each conference and who is already looking ahead to next year's draft. So before we get started, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It will mean a whole lot to me if you were to subscribe. Currently at 123 subscribers. I want to hit 200 before the end of the year. What's it, 200 or 150? Let's do 150. That's more reasonable. Before the end of the year, and your subscription will mean a lot to me. So let's go ahead and get started by going over our tiers. Same as normal, we have Super Bowl, Division, Wild Card, Meh, and Bad. And so the first team we're going to be talking about is the Arizona Cardinals, who, after a complete shellacking of them by the Green Bay Packers 34-13, they're definitely inconsistent team because they just came off a comeback win against the San Francisco 49ers, one of the best teams in football. But they got absolutely smacked around by the Packers, who was another really solid team. But there was no answer for them against the Packers defense. They did have a little spurt there. Kyler is not using his legs nearly as often as we think he should. The run game was not great. And they were very, very turnover prone. So, yeah, they're definitely in the lower end of Met. Another week like that, and they're definitely in the bad tier. But, I mean, their 2 wins have been very, very impressive so far. They're not quite that terrible yet. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons, who I am putting up here. Oh, I don't know where to put them because, oh, man. Need to check their standings real quick. Come on, come on. Currently sitting at 4-2. Who did they beat? I thought they beat the Panthers by a good margin here. Still continue to roll after their win against Tampa Bay the previous week. So I got to keep them up there in division. But, yeah, them and Tampa Bay are going to be fighting for a bit for this division. But still in division. They're still competing hard. Offense is looking pretty darn good under Kirk Cousins. So, yeah, pretty much where we thought they would be. Next up, moving all the way up to division. Staying in the Super Bowl tier. Honestly, there's move up to the number 1 spot potentially. Is the Baltimore Ravens, who took down in a tight game against the really surprisingly good Washington Commanders. They just dominated by running the football like they have been. As everyone knew, Derrick Henry on this team was going to be a nightmare, and it is. The dude looks like his prime self behind this line, easily leading the league in rushing touchdowns, and yeah, it is just so good to see the return of the king in Baltimore. And Lamar is still playing some pretty solid football. He's not making mistakes. He's using his legs, throwing when he has to. But when he had that running attack they did between him and Henry, you don't really need to pass that often. And our defense was able to contain the explosive offense of the Commanders. So, very good signs there for Baltimore, especially after they started the season 0-2. Some really, really impressive wins. Next up, Buffalo. They're in division tier. They came off a Monday Night Football win against the Jets to secure the lead in the AFC East. And Josh Allen looked back to himself a little bit here after a couple of down weeks for him. And this is with them missing James Cook and Khalil Shakir, their best running back, and one of their top 2 receivers. Still are able to force some mistakes from that Jets offense late in the game. And their offense is just enough against one of the best defenses in the league to get the victory. So, yeah, the Bills are up there in division. In bad tier, Carolina. Yeah, not much else to say. This team is heavily looking forward to the draft next year. You just got to wonder, are they going to keep Andy Dalton starting? Going to put Bryce Young back in? What the heck are they doing here? But overall, it is not a pretty picture there in Carolina. Easily one of the worst teams in football. Next up, the Chicago Bears, who is moving up to wild card tier. They are 4-2. And you cannot ignore the fact that they're playing some good football right now. Caleb Williams just has the best game as a pro. Their defense is legit. The only reason why Jaguars scored that many points because they gave a couple garbage time touchdowns there at the end. But I will say this. They have not beaten the best of opponents. Their 4 wins are against teams that have 1 win each. And that's not the most impressive thing in the world. But like I said, the Bears are keeping pace with that crazy NFC North right now. And they're looking better than expected here this early in the Caleb Williams era. So good on you, but not ready to crown you like a true like deep playoff contender yet. But you could definitely sneak in there if everything plays right, especially with the schedule you guys have. So good on you, Chicago. Cincinnati in the mid tier, they picked up an ugly win against the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. I don't know what they were thinking having that be a primetime game, just my opinion. But able to squeak out a win in one of the ugliest games ever played this year. So they're able to get 2 wins in a row. So not 2 wins in a row. They got their 2nd win of the year. That's what I meant to say, because they lost to Baltimore last week. They moved to 2-4. So yeah, up there in meh. And yeah, it is rough in Cleveland. They did not score a single offensive touchdown. The only touchdown they have was because they blocked a kick that they were able to scoop up for a touchdown. 3 field goals. Deshaun Watson is a total train wreck. And yeah, this defense is not putting the effort, because why should they when the offense is being as crap as it is? And what are why are they still playing Deshaun Watson? That is the question I want to ask, is why? I know why, because they gave him all this money, but he is actively hurting your team. This was a team that was supposed to be a playoff contender this season. A playoff contender. And it has just been an absolute train wreck of the year. Get rid of Deshaun. Eat that money. He is costing you fans. He is costing your team wins. And it is just an absolute dumpster fire in Cleveland. We thought the factory of sadness was closed. Well, guess what? It is back open for business. And yeah, Browns are in the bad tier. I'm a little bit extra passionate about this because my father-in-law has been a Browns fan his whole life. He was so excited for last year in the playoffs, and now this season is just crushing his dreams. And so, yeah, I am very angry at Cleveland. Very angry. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who I am putting down in meh. You cannot be blown out 47-9 and not be dropped down a tier. This is probably the worst 3-3 team in the league right now. Their defense can't do anything. Their offense sucks. Dak Prescott is making terrible decisions. And the Lions came out with a vengeance against them. I'm not denying that. But overall, it is just an absolute nasty performance there. And I would not be surprised if this continues for another week or two, that McCarthy's head is going to go off this team, because it is shocking how bad this team is and how bad this defense is. I didn't think that the drop off from, the coach of the Commanders, Dan Quinn. I just saw Dan to Mike Zimmer would be this bad for this team, and it has been. It really has been, and yeah, no, Dallas belongs there in the meh tier. Next up here is the Denver Broncos, who are staying in the meh tier here at 3-3. I mean, they were able to make it a decent game against the Chargers, but overall, they weren't able to get it done. Their offense looked very flat. Bo Nix struggled again, but they're 3-3. They're doing better now. Just got to hope that Pat Surtain is not injured too much there. So, Denver in the mid tier. Super Bowl contender. Yeah, Detroit. Yeah, I'm going to put them here behind Baltimore still. What else can I say? They came out with a purpose against the Cowboys because they were still mad about last year and utterly destroyed the Cowboys. They probably broke the franchise season this year, and it is just absolutely insane how well this team played. They were trying so hard in the late stages of the game to get an offensive line with a touchdown after what happened last week. So it is just absolutely crazy how well this team is playing, and I am scared of the Lions. Never thought I would say that, but I am. Oh, I am. Next up is the Green Bay Packers, who are staying in wild card tier with the Bears. Complete convincing win against the Cardinals. You can see more in my video breaking down the Packers win for my more in-depth thoughts on the team. But Jordan Love had his best game of the year. Defense continues to force his turnovers. And they got a very, very fun week next week against Houston Texans to really see if this team is a true contender or just kind of like they're going to make the playoffs, maybe win a game and be out. So overall, Packers are still having a very good start to the year, even with all the issues they have been having at 4-2. Next up is the Houston Texans, who stay in division tier. They're currently at, let's see, who did they even play? They beat the Patriots 41-21, as expected. The Patriots are playing Drake May, and that's kind of the reason why I'm having Houston be up here in division and not a Super Bowl contender, because they haven't really beaten a great team. They have a chance this week. If they beat the Packers next week, they are moving up to Super Bowl contender. But Houston is just playing good football right now. Defense is one of the best in the league at generating pressures. And CJ Stroud continues to be a very, very good quarterback. And it is insane how fast this franchise has turned around. So, yeah, Houston staying in the division tier. Next up is the Indianapolis Colts, who just beat the Tennessee Titans. I'm moving them up here up to meh, because with Joe Flacco, they have been a very solid and competitive football team. He is leading these offense very, very well, which is kind of concerning for the status of Anthony Richardson. But yeah, the Colts' best shot to win is definitely with Joe Flacco. But we'll see how they continue on, if they want to stick Richardson back in or let him develop some more. But yeah, Joe Flacco proves that the Browns are idiots for letting him go, because he would be doing so much better for the Browns team right now than Watson is. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who got utterly dominated by the Chicago Bears over in London. It was embarrassing how bad it was. And it wasn't even really Trevor Lawrence's fault. All of his receivers had butterfingers. I watched the entire game. The defense couldn't stop anything. Every pass that Lawrence completed was fumbled right away by his receivers. And it is just, yeah, things are not good in Jacksonville. And I have a feeling that another loss this week, Doug Peters is going to get fired. That's just how it's going to be. So, yeah, Jacksonville is in the bad tier. Kansas City is on the bye, so no change to their position. Still 5-0. Still have Mahomes and Reed. Still probably the favorites to win the Super Bowl. So, yeah, up there, Kansas City number 1. Chargers. Staying in the Met tier. Able to, after the bye week, play some good, solid football. Won a slugfest with the Broncos. And Jim Harbaugh is coaching his butt off, getting the team to play the football he wants. Good solid run game. Defense is playing better. And Herbert is doing what he has to get a victory. So, up there in meh for the Chargers. The Rams. They're in bad. They have one win. And everyone has been injured for this team, which is not great. But they should be getting some guys back healthy and should be a bit more competitive. But is it too late to get back in this division race? That is the question, because they have a decent bit of a hole there. But luckily, the rest of the division has also been sucking. So, yeah, still in bad. But they have hope. They have more hope than some of these other teams. Like the Raiders, for instance, who lost to the Steelers in a pretty bad way. Let's just say that this team has no idea what they're doing. They just traded away Devontae Adams to the Jets, so they have basically no weapons now. And so either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew is going to just be thrown out there to the Wolves and suck and tank for a draft position to get a quarterback next year, because they need one. They really, really do. And it'll be interesting to see if they get rid of anyone else at the trade deadline this year. So keep an eye out for the Raiders there. Miami, they're on their bye week. They're also still bad. I don't know what the update for Tua is going to be. But until he is back, this team is going to be one of the worst in football, because they need him to run that offense. Just saying. So, yeah, Miami is in bad. Minnesota, they are dropping a spot this week. Not because of anything they did, because they were on the bye week, still undefeated. But because of how dominant Detroit is. Now, Minnesota's going to get into some tougher games here shortly. Who do they even play in Week 7? That is my question here. Oh, they play the Lions. So, we might see them get their first loss of the year against Detroit, but it'll be a fun competitive game. I still think this team is going to be very, very good down the stretch. But will they be undefeated too much longer? I don't think so. But until they lose, basically, they're still a Super Bowl contender because their offense has been good. They're getting healthy with Aaron Jones. Had an injury the previous week. He's going to be back healthy. And they still got Justin Jefferson. You can't really be mad at that. So, yeah, Minnesota's still up there in Super Bowl. New England in bad because they got blown up by the Texans. But there are signs of hope there. Drake May didn't look too terrible there in his first action against one of the best defenses in the league. He did throw 3 touchdowns, had 2 picks, and was pressured a lot, but he looked decent. So not too bad there for the Patriots, but yeah, down there in bad. Meh. New Orleans. Actually, I'm going to put them in bad after they got blown out that bad. They gave up 51 points to the Buccaneers. Yeah, that's how bad they are. But Spencer Rattler had a start after Derek Carr got hurt. Wasn't terrible, but like I said, they got absolutely blown the heck out by the Buccaneers. So if you give up 50 points, you're going down a tier, and that's where they are in bad. Giants. Putting them in bad. I mean, they played tough against the Bengals, but their offense couldn't do jack squat against a team that just gave up like 40 points to the Ravens. Daniel Jones looked kind of bad. They need Malik Nabers to get back healthy. This defense has been playing well, and if the offense can be somewhat competent, which I know is a big ask, they can sneak in a few games here and there. But until then, they're going to be in the bad tier. Jets, meh. They did lose a close game to the Buffalo Bills, which I thought they might have lost anyway. First game without Robert Saleh. They played decently, but big news is they got Devontae Adams. That is why they're still in the meh tier. Do I think this is going to make them a so much better team? No, but I do think their offense is going to function a bit better because of the rapport that Adams has with Rodgers. Yes, but he might get focused too much on that and kind of ruin some of the other guys on the team. But that is where the Jets are at now. They're not that good of a team, and we'll see how they do the rest of the year, giving up all this draft pick and cap space to Adams now and Rodgers. So up there in meh. Philadelphia, they're in the wild card tier. They took care of business against the Cleveland Browns. Did not look that great, but they're still 3-3. They're playing better than the Cowboys, and I think that might be good enough to sneak into the playoffs this year, but we'll see heading down the stretch. Pittsburgh at 4-2 in wild card. Their defense did what they had to do against the Raiders. Offense did just enough to win. That is Steelers football, baby. They're 4-2. Pretty good shape in the AFC. They probably will sneak into the playoffs again this year because that's how they work. But, yeah, Pittsburgh is in wild card tier. Another wild card, Seattle. They did lose to San Francisco this week. Lost 3 in a row after winning the first 3 games. Very concerning for Seattle. They're very dangerously close to dropping down another tier because they have not been playing well at all. So, yeah, wild card tier for Seattle. San Francisco is rejoining the division after a pretty convincing win against the Seattle Seahawks. Defense did not make Geno Smith's life great. Offense did pretty well. George Kittle got 2 touchdowns. Thank you, George. And Purdy looked good. And this team's only going to continue to get healthier and healthier. And if that's the case, watch out because they're one of the best teams in football when fully healthy. But they're not fully healthy right now, so they're not that great. Tampa Bay is going to be right next to Atlanta here. Dropped 51 points on the Saints. And that's with Baker Mayfield not playing that good of football. So, yeah, Tampa Bay is a very solid team. Them and Atlanta are going to be down to the wire for the NFC South. And both teams will probably make it into the playoffs. So, up there in division tier because these two teams are basically equal. Tennessee, yeah, they looked a little bit more competitive this week against the Colts, but Will Levis to throw a terrible pick, so that is the result there. Not much to say else about the Titans. And Washington, still up here in division tier. Tough loss against the Ravens. The Ravens are just a better team than the Commanders, but Washington played them tough. This team, I think, is legit contender for the NFC East. So, especially with how the Eagles and Cowboys are playing, I wouldn't be surprised if they run away with this division because this is probably the currently best coached team in that division. And I can't believe I'm saying about Dan Quinn. So, yeah, this is my tier list this week. In the Super Bowl, we got Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, Minnesota. Division is Houston, Buffalo, Washington, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, San Francisco. Wild card is Green Bay, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Seattle. Meh is Dallas, Chargers, Denver, New York Jets, Cincinnati, Arizona, Indianapolis. And bad is New Orleans, New York Giants, Rams, Vegas Raiders, Miami, New England, Tennessee, Cleveland, Carolina, and Jacksonville. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Peace.